put her money and reputation behind this app. This is to pay people to door knock in campaigns. We're going to start in Virginia and New Jersey. You're going to go from there. And you can download it for free. It's like a job app, right? All the times you volunteer, you thought about it, but you don't have time. Hey, whenever you have time, you can do it. Whatever candidate you want to work for, conservative candidate, you can do that. You're going to door knock. But you get paid for it, right? So you're going to take the
The big star would be the real American voices.
Oh, Jesus!
All right, yes. Lost his line there.
That's okay.
A very big thank you to Ed Henry and Karyn Turk and Terrance Bates on America's Sunrise. Watch America's Sunrise.
Patriots, welcome to this American Sunrise, live from West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning.
Good morning. Hakuna Matata.
That's right.
Yeah, it's Friday.
And live from our Denver, Colorado studios, Ed and Karyn, I wish you guys were here because I am taking Tamara to a Bee Gees cover band concert tonight, and I am so super excited. I think you guys would enjoy it as well.
Oh,
Bee Gees,
yeah, that would be a great time.
I have not thought about them in a while. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I know,
that's gonna
right?
be fun.
And it's at an amusement park.
Is it at a concert? Or
no, it's at an amusement park. So all month long, this amusement park here, Elitch's, which is the local amusement park, has acts. So tonight is the Bee Gees, next weekend is Prince, and the weekend after that is a Michael Jackson cover band or performer. So I'm looking forward to the Bee Gees. Like I've been singing Bee Gees songs all morning long.
Wait, when is Prince?
I know, for a second there,
wait,
I had this
Prince?
flash of jealousy. Prince is going to be there, and then I realized that you were talking about a cover band. But the way you said it.
But can we go to that cover
Get
band?
us a
When
date.
is it?
Get us a date.
I will get you guys together. I want to, like, this weekend is Bee Gees. I think Prince is next weekend. You know what? It would be awesome if we could do the show live there.
Oh,
It would
imagine.
be a
Zen
little
Master, if
loud.
you're listening, I'm planting a seed, Zen Master, if you happen
There
to
you
be
go.
listening.
Yeah.
Zen, I love this idea. I'm all over it.
There you go. There's a lot of breaking news, though. Look at this overnight from Just the News. Text messages given to the FBI show China wanted the Biden family name to help acquire U.S. energy assets. Now, that may be what they wanted. More important is what the Bidens actually did. You could see there, Hunter Biden brought in his business partners, and guess what? The Biden family cut a deal with this Chinese energy company. What date? 2015, it says, right? This is Tony Bobulinski. Remember him on Tucker a couple years ago? Christmas Eve, Karyn, 2015. Why is that significant? Well, I was covering the Obama-Biden administration, and as I recall, they were in office until 2016 when Donald Trump took office in 2017. So if this happened in 2015, guys, Joe Biden was a sitting vice president doing the bidding not for America First, but for the CCP, because they own all the assets. So what was he doing? And he's lied to us for years. So what are the House Republicans waiting for?
This is shocking. And, you know, he said so many times that Hunter is the smartest man that he knows. And was this at the same time that he was smoking crack doing 180 miles an hour on the highway?
It was close. It was around there.
Was it around that?
It was
Okay,
around
I
that
thought
time.
so.
Yeah. Terrance?
You know, and the Devin Archer testimony from Monday is now out. The transcripts, the fully transcribed interview, it is out. You can see it for yourself because, of course, both sides are trying to spin what was said and the context of what was said. And so I just encourage you, read it for yourself. It's pretty damning. Now, I will admit, in my opinion, he's not being as upfront and forthright as I'd like him to be. You know, it seems like some of his answers are a bit scripted. That's my perception. But read it for yourself. I'm halfway through it right now. It's about 141 pages. And it's good. I think it's good reading. It definitely is insightful.
Well, it's a good tease for the top of next hour where we have some details from that transcript. And it turns out that what Devin Archer was saying, because the transcript, remember, he went behind closed doors. There were not cameras, like a hearing, right? So Democrats like Dan Goldman came out and said, this is what Devin Archer said.
Right.
And we played some of those clips. And now the transcript shows Dan Goldman wasn't telling the truth. I know it shocks you. This Democrat lied.
You know, it's just like I'm thinking about all these things, the narratives that the mainstream media has tried to create around Russia, around China, tying them to Trump. And, like, look at all the stuff that comes out, and it's the same thing every single time.
No doubt about it. And meanwhile, who gets indicted? Not Hunter, not Joe, not his sister, Joe Biden. He doesn't get indicted. Instead, it's Donald Trump. Third time. He thinks maybe the third time's a charm. We'll talk about that in a minute. Here he is telling reporters about the experience.
Well, thank you very much. This is a very sad day for America. And it was also very sad driving through Washington, D.C. and seeing the filth and the decay and all of the broken buildings and walls and the graffiti. This is not the place that I left. It's a very sad thing to see it. When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America. This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him. We can't let this happen in America. Thank you very much, everybody.
There you go. And Karyn, I add one thing. Look at this. When is the Georgia indictment coming? We hear maybe in the next 2 weeks. Donald Trump put it on Truth Social. 3 indictments. He says up here, I need one more indictment to ensure my election.
It's not so far. I mean, look, remember when they said Donald Trump wasn't presidential? Did you just see, like, the comparison between him and the man that's in the White House? So basically now it's acceptable to smoke crack, drive your car, have dementia, be in the White House. And then you see this man who's standing up for America, and that's what's being shunned. Are we living in China?
Even under all this pressure,
Are
right?
we in China right now instead of America?
Well, they're doing the bidding of China. If you look at John Solomon's reporting, Terrance.
No, absolutely. And there's so many questions being asked of this administration right now. And it seems to me that we're starting to see more questions being asked than we did maybe even a year ago because there's so much new evidence coming out. There's so many whistleblowers coming out against the administration and against specific people, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden. And so now finally we're seeing the media start. And I'm not saying it's doing a wonderful job, the mainstream media at this point, but at least they're starting to ask some probing questions of the president and this administration.
To your point, though, start, because remember a couple of days ago we played the NBC Nightly News. They did not cover the whistleblowers, Devin Archer, whatever. That particular day, I think it was Devin Archer. So if the mainstream media is not covering it, millions of people don't even know this is going on. But in terms of President Trump and the confidence he has despite all this pressure, this video just came in this morning. Last night, he flies back from D.C. to Bedminster, New Jersey, where we were a few weeks ago. And as the same happens at his other golf clubs and social clubs like Mar-a-Lago, there's a wedding going on. I guess in the summer, people have weddings on Thursday night. He went to the wedding, on Thursday, started hanging out, and people start chanting USA. It's cheaper on Thursday.
It is. Thursday's a cheaper day.
There you go.
Amazing.
Here's the president. Watch.
The bride is totally beautiful, and you're even more beautiful than
What do you think? I mean, he doesn't look like a man who's worried about it.
Yeah, no, and you see all these great people around him, that continue to just, scream USA, USA, USA. It gives you faith that things are going to be okay.
Yeah, his support is as strong as ever.
Absolutely. And what a moment for that couple. I mean, to think that they had a presidential visitor at their wedding, that's a moment they will never forget. And it goes to show, if you watch that video, he truly is a man of the people. You can see his security as he's kind of reaching to the crowd. One of the security guys kind of tries to step and he says, no, get away, I got it.
Yeah.
I think it goes to show that he is a man of the people. Even during these stressful times for him, he's still all about the people and still engaging.
No doubt. So there were a lot of ridiculous takes about the third indictment. But I think Al Sharpton,
really,
this might take the cake. Just listen.
Shocking.
Listen to his take on Donald Trump's indictment over January 6th, and he's talking about an insurrection, a revolution, if you will. Watch.
One day, our children's children will read American history. And can you imagine our reading that James Madison or Thomas Jefferson tried to overthrow the government so they could stay in power? That's what we're looking at. We're looking at American history.
I do have to say he looks good. He's aging well as far as physically. Mentally, not so good. Physically, looks good.
I used to live near him. I run into him all the time. He's a nice guy in person, but Terrance, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, they were part of a revolution to overthrow the government. Technically, it was the king.
Yeah, but it was the governing body. They started basically a new country and separated from another. I'm no historian. But,
how dare these patriots stand up for American freedom? How dare these patriots on January 6th stand up for American freedom? Thomas Jefferson wouldn't do that. Wait, that's literally what he's saying.
Has anybody figured out that this man will say anything to be on television? Has anybody clued into that? Because that's what I'm thinking at this point. Because this is either he's delusional or he just does this to get on
And nobody
TV.
on set said, well, there was an American Revolution. Anyway, take a look at some of our friends. We've seen them at some of the rallies and whatnot. They were outside the courthouse cheering on the president. And when this or it was the Sky News, I think it was trying to figure out, aren't you guys tired of Trump? And they were like, no, we love him. Watch.
You're here supporting Donald Trump.
Yeah,
you're live on
support the boss.
Well, you're live on Sky News. Tell me why.
The only way to save America is with Donald Trump.
They would have it, the prosecutor. He's the man who tried to destroy America, subvert democracy.
It's another made-up story. It's another made-up story, another made-up indictment. They've been after this man since he came down the escalator 8 years ago. I got to remember, when was America great? 2017, 18, 2019, until the commie Democrats called their bosses in Wuhan to release the virus. Remember, we had a thriving economy. Stock market was through the roof. Energy independence. We had respect all around the world. We were the #1 superpower. We were doing great. America first Constitution, you put the Constitution first, and it all went 30 months ago. Everything you're seeing today is the result of a stolen election.
John, apologies for the language, by the way, but listen, number one superpower, you say, not the number one democracy, the prosecutors would say, because of this man, the man who'll appear here.
You got to remember, where are you from?
Scotland.
Well, here in America, we're a constitutional republic. We follow the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
It might have been an autocracy had Donald Trump had his way. That would be the way the prosecutors say
we
it.
got a guy now that thinks he's king. So, you know what? We got a Trump their king with an America First king. So I would support King Trump coming back, occupying the White House again in January 2025.
You're going to trump their
Terrance, I see you laughing.
You're going to trump their king with our king. That's
the
funny.
America First
He
king.
was good.
Yes,
He was
the
really
America-
good.
There you go.
That's hilarious.
Let's shout out some of the folks in the Rav family. This from Liberty Nurse Jan. We love American Sunrise and all of you. Karyn, Terrance, God bless. That is so
Bless you
sweet.
back.
Sean Lucas, by the way, said, we all know of Benny's on the beach. I want to introduce you to Bella on the beach. I guess that's
Bella.
his pooch. Hashtag Real America's Voice. That's great. Quick correction I want to make on our recent reporting about the president, President Trump and Joe Biden and the two tiers of justice. Babylon B puts this out. Democrats, Karyn, apparently clarifying no one is above the law that they selectively enforce.
There
And we
you
have
go.
not made that clear in our reporting.
That explains it entirely.
Does that make sense?
That's the headline.
Yeah. No,
Perfect. Babylon B nails it again.
Guys, let's skip ahead to A12 if we can. I'm trying to figure this out. So we've been talking about Paul Pelosi and his friend David, right?
Yeah.
Now the Massachusetts police in the Obama situation, the chef, apparently with his drowning death, Tafari Campbell, it's been deemed an accident. But Karyn, the Massachusetts police are still withholding the basic information about the personal chef under the guise of this is an ongoing investigation. They haven't mentioned the second person identified who was paddling with him. What is going on?
Walking around with a bandage on his hand. I mean, there are a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Terrance, why can't we get basic answers to someone dies at a
What's that
former
right?
president's property? You think of
Well,
that?
there's crack. I mean, not crack. Cocaine in the White House, so we can't figure that out.
Yes. But if someone died at a former President Trump property, I feel like people would be demanding answers on this. But what do I know?
And let's be honest, any police reports could be FOIA'd. There would be a Freedom of Information Act request to get that information, which at least would give us some basic ideas about where the investigation stands. As I have seen so far, even that information is being withheld at this point. And again, a police report, that's generally public record. It's not necessarily too specific, but it gives you an idea of where the investigation stands, what some of the evidence is or the circumstances. And I, to this point, have not seen that even released.
And if it was just an accidental drowning or whatever, God forbid, it's an awful tragedy for this man. He left behind a wife and children.
Of course.
What's an ongoing investigation? Do they think there was foul play?
Do they get closure? Right.
been a
And do they
couple
have
weeks.
to hire a private investigator to get closure?
Yeah.
And can they get answers? Because, again, is it a cover-up? Who knows?
Very strange. So we'll stay on top of that. In the meantime, let's go down the rabbit hole with Karyn. All right, so you'll remember that the Biden administration released over 1,000 documents pertaining to JFK's assassination, but held back a bunch of other documents. And people are still wondering. RFK Jr.'s complained about it. President Trump has vowed that when he becomes president again, he'd release all the rest of all the files. Gateway Pundit has this story now. Identity of CIA agent who checked Lee Harvey Oswald's mail months before JFK's assassination revealed and had previously reported a UFO sighting. And bizarrely, the CIA agent died on the 30th anniversary of JFK's assassination. Is all this true?
Strange. It is true this guy was part of the Warren Commission. The whole thing's crazy. I mean, there's still over 4,000 documents that are still secret in all of this, although they've released them. I mean, this might be the only thing that Biden's done since he's been in the White House, is helped to facilitate it. Probably also the only thing Chuck Schumer's ever done is try to get these documents declassified.
Because they've said we got to protect sources and methods, Terrance. And the man was assassinated in 1963, and I've read some of this that Karyn researched.
Choose flying saucers over Russia. He was with this army colonel. It's a very weird
This
story.
CIA agent saw these.
Yep.
But most of the other people around the assassination are dead. Why can't we get the rest of this information?
The bigger question, Karyn, are aliens responsible?
Who knows? I mean, that remains to be seen. Who knows?
By the way,
that's a new rabbit hole for you to go down. Sorry.
Could be the CIA could be run by the aliens. I mean, that might make a lot more sense of our world. Maybe that's
Maybe
it.
the aliens are running the White House.
Maybe.
Let's get to Jesus Calling, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Jesus Calling. Hold my hand and walk joyously with me through this day. Together we will savor the pleasures and endure the difficulties it brings. Be on the lookout for everything I have prepared for you. Stunning scenery, bracing winds of adventure, cozy nooks for resting when you are weary, and much more. I am your guide as well as your constant companion. I know every step of the journey ahead of you, all the way to heaven. And this comes from Isaiah 58:11. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, a spring whose waters never fail.
Absolutely beautiful way to end this week. Terrance, I know you got a couple headlines.
All right, guys, not guilty. That is President Trump's plea to federal charges that he tried to orchestrate a plot to overturn the 2020 election. The 45th president was arraigned in a Washington, D.C. courtroom on Thursday as part of this latest indictment against him. Taking to Truth Social after the 30-minute hearing, the former president writing, considering the fact that I had to fly to a filthy, dirty, falling apart, and very unsafe Washington, D.C. today, and that I was then arrested by my political opponent who is losing badly to me in the polls, crooked Joe Biden, it was a very good day, he writes. The two Democrat Tennessee state lawmakers who were expelled from the state legislature earlier this year are officially headed back to the state capitol to serve out the rest of their terms. Republicans in the state House of Representatives voted to oust Justin Pearson and Justin Jones over their protest against gun violence following a deadly school shooting in Nashville. The duo, along with the third lawmaker who survived the expulsion vote, led the protest inside the House chamber and were punished for breaking the chamber's rules of decorum. Both Jones and Pearson were returned to their seats by local officials in their district, pending a special election which was held on Thursday. Both men won. Reparations for weed. Only in Minnesota. Now that the drug is legal for recreational users in Minnesota, the state is initiating a new program that would send millions of dollars to communities disproportionately affected by drug enforcement laws when marijuana was illegal. Some lawmakers are calling the measure a form of reparation, since the idea is to provide economic relief for people who have been convicted of marijuana possession and other weed offenses. The Can Renew grant, that's what it's called, will set aside $15 million for eligible organizations starting in 2026. Weed, by the way, just became legal in Minnesota this week. Interesting story there. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'll have more headlines coming your way here shortly. Guys?
I'm so confused by that. So now they're doing reparations for weed?
Yeah,
reparations for weed in Minnesota.
Confused about that too. The chat is obviously talking about it.
Yeah.
So
Cannabis Kurt will be very interested in that. He's in the chat a lot.
Yes, he is.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with, Donald Trump indicted again, waiting on a fourth one, but he's got a brand new surrogate, a surprising Republican who has said some really nice things about Trump, and he's talking about it on Truth Social. We'll talk about it next.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Yeah, there you go. A lot of people reacted to Terrance's story about marijuana reparations in Minnesota. I'm still scratching my head about what. I guess some people were prosecuted, and now they're saying it's
another race, so now they need economic relief.
So, but Cannabis Kurt is normally in the live chat, and they shouted him out, and people were like, "Where is he?"
And he's there, right?
I don't know. RLR just said Kurt. His weed ain't one today. He smoked too much and forgot how to log in to his account on Getter. So I don't know if that's a false accusation or what.
Backup account?
Yeah, so maybe that happens. Cannabis, where are you? In the meantime, President Trump making light on Truth Social about the fact that maybe he's got a new surrogate out there on the campaign trail. A Republican you wouldn't expect who supports his candidacy. Watch.
I want to thank him for what he's done to fight terrorism. I want to thank him for what he's done for our military. I want to thank him for what he has done to stand by our veterans. I want to thank him for what he's done for our economy.
Trump has almost the entire media against him. Fake news day after day after day. He's facing opposition unlike any other president we've seen. And he is standing tall for us.
I think even his worst critic would say he's been somebody that has been determined to keep the promises he made.
Donald Trump wrote The Art of the Deal. He knows how to negotiate it.
And I think that Donald Trump has done a better job appointing judges to both the U.S. Supreme Court and the Appeals Court than any other president in my lifetime, including one of my heroes, Ronald Reagan. So God bless Donald Trump for doing that. Is this Trump country or what?
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
It's over, right? Conservative judges, great negotiator, military, veterans, economy, fake news. I don't know what else he could.
Those were the glory days of Ron DeSantis. You know, he peaked too soon. When he was supporting Trump, he was in a much better position. It's over now.
The true story, someone sent me a picture of you with a big DeSantis campaign button.
Somebody sent it to you? Well, that was actually for governor.
For governor.
Yes, I
so
did
it's not for,
him.
okay,
No,
previously.
of course not.
Just want to clarify.
Yeah.
All right, good. The headlines, they're sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Terrance, I don't know. I'm still laughing about a lot of these stories. Good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. Ed, boy, you just poked the bear. Karen, I knew what the button was.
I literally got this photo, and she has this button that says DeSantis, but I figured it was
you knew it was for governor. Yeah, you probably were that kid on the playground who was like, fight, 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 fight.
I'm just asking. It's just a question.
No, and I mean, the person took the time to edit the picture, too, so I guess it's
they
almost like a compliment.
Out.
They took somebody out of the photo.
Interesting.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, that's
nice
another plot. It's another plot thickens, as they say.
Plot twist.
All right, let's get to this morning's headlines, guys. While dozens of J6 defendants remain in jail awaiting their day in court after more than a year of incarceration, federal prosecutors in the latest case against President Donald Trump are calling for a speedy trial. Mr. Trump's attorney says, ideally, the feds want the case heard before the election.
They want to deny him his Sixth Amendment rights to counsel, to give me and my co-counsel Todd Blanche an opportunity to prepare. They want to deny President Trump his due process rights, to look at documents, to get witnesses, to use our subpoena power. They want to deny all of him those rights in a rush to judgment for one political purpose, and that's to uphold the Biden administration. Make no mistake about it. This has Merrick Garland's handiwork all around it.
Meantime, after returning to his Bedminster, New Jersey home following Thursday's arraignment on charges that he tried to overturn the 2020 election, President Trump dropped by a wedding reception at his golf club to greet the bride and groom. He himself received quite the reception, though. And Kari Lake is saying what many on the right are thinking. Instead of impeaching President Biden, the fiery and fierce Trump-supporting Arizona Republican is calling for something even more radical.
All that January 6th was a staged riot to cover up the fact that they certified a fraudulent election. If we just go back and deal with this fraudulent election and what happened in 2020, we don't have to impeach him because he really isn't, in my opinion, and many others, and you look at the evidence, the true president. Why don't we decertify 2020?
Those comments coming in response to the indictment against President Trump. By the way, the most serious of the 4 charges against him in this latest indictment carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. The House Oversight Committee is out with the 141-page transcript of Devon Archer's deposition about Hunter Biden's business dealings with foreign companies and that Hunter was in the business of selling the Biden brand. Here are some of the highlights, guys. Archer testified that the now first son was selling the, quote, illusion of access to his father. He also said the younger Biden occasionally put his father on speakerphone with business partners and others. Archer goes on to detail various payments for services, including expensive cars and multi-million-dollar deals. However, his recollections are often veiled and carefully crafted rather than blunt. However, you can read the entire interaction between members of the House Oversight Committee and Mr. Archer on the Oversight Committee's website, and you can do so for yourself. That's a quick check of your headlines, brought to you by AMAC.
Dig in next hour because Dan Goldman, who came out of that since there were no cameras and could spin it days before we saw the transcript, creates all these fake news headlines about how it was the illusion of access, as you say, not actual access being sold, as if there's really a difference.
Yeah.
The point is that when you look at the transcript, and we'll get into further detail, Dan Goldman repeatedly used the phrase illusion of access himself in his questions of Devon Archer. So he put that phrase out there, got Devon Archer to react to it, not necessarily completely agree with it, and then goes to the TV cameras and says, Devon Archer testified that there was an illusion of access.
Right.
It was the Democrat Goldman who asked the question, was there an illusion of access? He used that phrase. You saw it, Terry.
He repeated, right. And that's why I encourage people to go read it for themselves. It's 141 pages. It's a pretty decent read. But that gives you a sense of, I mean, it is. It's pretty decent.
I mean, it's not like a beach read, right? Like Biden's not going to bring it to Rehoboth, right?
I enjoyed it. You know, I was like, oh, okay. But I think it really gives you a sense and it gives you context. When you read it for yourself, you get context of the questions that were posed and how those questions were then answered. Because, you know, I can sit here and tell you, oh, he said this and that and the other, but without the context, without knowing the question that was posed to elicit that answer, I think you don't necessarily get a fair assessment of
but that's what the Democrats abused, right? Because Goldman, since we didn't see the question initially, he abused that. Let's look at another fake news deal, Terrance. Stay with us. This is ABC News, right? We'll put it up. In talking about the indictment, ABC World News Tonight edited out a key part of what Donald Trump said on January 6th. Yeah. Listen closely to the soundbite they use about the indictment and see if there's something missing. We'll talk about it. Watch.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
So, Karyn, if you listen to ABC News, he said, fight like hell. We're going to that. We're going to fight.
Incredible. They cut it off right before he said peacefully and patriotically. Right before. That was where they cut it.
Peacefully and patriotically. Why leave that out unless you want to make the man look like he's guilty?
No, absolutely. Show the whole thing. Again, context is everything. And when you selectively edit, it changes the context or can change the context.
No doubt about it. Talk about the threat from China that President Trump was talking about throughout his time in office. If you look at the John Solomon scoop at Just the News right now, Biden's in the pocket of China. Daily Mail. Now China, Karyn, is funding America's public schools. What? Communist nation has channeled $17 million, as you see, into more than 143 K through 12 districts. Now there's a Republican investigation, thankfully, but they've got police stations in America.
Yeah.
They've got bioweapons labs.
I think about Dr. Wolf and her husband and the times that we've had them on and they've talked about these things and this silent warfare. I mean, seems pretty evident.
Terrance, why in the world is China pouring money into our public schools? Go focus on your school. What would they be up to? Indoctrination? What are they doing?
That is the big question. And what's the end goal? Again, you know, why would you be funding schools in other countries, particularly a country that's your adversary? let's just be honest, on the global stage, the United States, we are adversaries right now. And there is a race. There's this industrial revolution, if you will. There's a race for technological advances and that kind of thing. And it can be argued that China is winning that race right now. And by dumbing down potentially the American competition, that might help in the future. Again, I'm just putting that out there as a potential idea.
Right, and you could have them pouring money into a school in California that's just down the street from that bioweapons lab in California.
Yeah, with the mice.
And what else do we not know, as you've been saying?
Hose running up the wall.
Was it 900 mice with all
COVID?
kinds of... So we have all these issues with China, and we got the border crisis and fentanyl and all the rest of it. So what is the Biden administration focused on? Well, I don't know if you caught this week, but they're now banning these incandescent light bulbs all around the country. Because LED bulbs are the only option. Not a lot of people like those bulbs, not as bright. They say this is part of like saving
and it's some
the
sort
world.
of, ecological advantage.
Green.
Follow the green for sure. Follow the money.
Here it is. Let's listen to this report about it and we'll talk.
Well, starting today, incandescent light bulbs are now banned in the United States. This initiative, first introduced in 2007, was rolled back by the Trump administration. But in April, President Biden flipped the switch on it. Customers are now urged to start buying LED light bulbs because they conserve energy.
So why would this be the focus right now?
In the name of conserving energy. Again, follow the money. I want to see who's making money off of this and how are they connected to the Bidens?
Terrance?
I'm with you on that one, Karyn. Follow the money. There's more to this story.
We talk about these Democrat cities as well, so they're focused on the light bulbs. What about Portland, Oregon? A doctor there knocked out by a homeless attacker. She revealed these bloody wounds to her face, blames the city now. There's a little video. Look at this, just randomly in the street. Now, it was late at night. We've seen other cases in New York and other places, L.A. and San Francisco, where this kind of thing has happened, in broad daylight. It was at night, but that doesn't excuse it, of course. The woman is a radiologist. Attacked last Friday night shortly after 10:30 p.m. She's 50 years old and was rendered unconscious. And this is happening in these Democrat cities.
Did he throw something at her? It looks like he threw something at her.
Yes, he did. You're right. I'm looking at my notes.
What was that?
You're right. A large silver bottle. And that's what sort of knocked her. And if you
one of those Stanley bottles or cups.
and if you go online, her face is all bloody and whatnot. We don't even really want to show it. Only 50 years old, so hopefully she recovers. But this is going on in all of these big cities around the country.
Scary.
Incredible. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with a whole lot more as this American Sunrise is just starting.
Right now. I can't afford the groceries. I can't afford your gas. It's Biden inflation across the nation. 81 million votes my ass. Hey, 81 million votes my ass. afford your gas. It's Bidenflation across the nation. 81 million votes my ass.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. I'm trying to lead it. Yeah, I'll be out there walking later and dancing to this. You got to sweat it out, Karyn.
I love that. That's why you're in such great shape now.
There you go,
It's the
there you go.
Richard Simmons workout.
I've got that on my VCR at home.
I'm sure you do.
Play
Are
it.
you streaming it, casting it? What are you doing?
I stream it first. Well, I VHS it first. What would that be? And then I send it to my phone because it streams to the phone. And then I cast it back to my TV. Is that what it's doing? Yeah. It's complicated.
Okay.
But what's not so complicated is that I think Karyn was right about Richard Simmons. So let's have maybe one final update on that because viewers are still sending us Getter and True Social posts about this. I'm Debbie24 says, I went down the rabbit hole and I could not find any legit pics of Richard Simmons in a headband. There are a lot of Photoshops, right?
Yes.
However, here's where I think it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Simmons' costumes for Halloween back in the day included a headband.
I think that this might have something to do with it because you had to differentiate that you weren't just some guy with big hair, in striped shorts. You had to put the headband.
Like I'm working out because at that time
out.
Richard Simmons was everywhere on television and videos and everything. Working out. Mm-hmm. So the Halloween costume,
aerobics.
The Halloween costume had the headband, but in real life he didn't.
I think that makes sense.
So that's what they call the Mandela effect, where we have it in our head, we believe it, but it really didn't happen.
I sent you with something else this morning.
Britney Spears. But
is
wasn't that Halloween as well?
We'll see. It could be. It could be. So maybe that's where we're getting it wrong. That could be the same story.
Because she used a microphone, right, at concerts?
And Oops, I Did It Again.
Right.
And the iconic, I think it's a red costume.
But she didn't actually have it, I think, in the Halloween costume or vice versa.
No, in real life.
In real life.
But then
in the Halloween costume had that.
So maybe that's
so I'm telling you, that Richard Simmons Halloween costume, so that might be it. You don't have to just rely on Richard Simmons anymore, thankfully. You can go to the wellness company to keep you in great shape. Go to twc.health/RAV. You'll see those big, beautiful supplements. Dr. McCullough's Healthy Heart and Muscle Formula is the one I love. Karyn loves the spike support. It's big and beautiful in the middle right there. Or did you take it already?
I know, and I know I threw you off with Britney Spears because you're this wonderful transition that you were going to do with Richard Simmons and the wellness company. I saw the wheel spinning in your head.
And Britney goes back and forth. Sometimes she's in great shape, not so much, I guess.
She can dance.
She can dance.
She can dance.
Yeah, that's a true story. And I tell you what, the wellness company is bringing back your medical freedom. So there you go. Spike Support deals with those spike proteins, right? All right. You took it already?
Yep.
There you
Nanokinase.
And a lot of people, somebody last night was sending me a note on Getter saying, what is the site? twc.health/RAV. In the meantime, let's bring in our friend Terrance Bates. He's always in great shape, and he's always got the headlines. Terrance, good morning again.
Good morning, guys. Oops, Karyn, you did it again. You sent us down a brand new rabbit hole now involving Britney Spears. Thank you. Appreciate that. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee is looking into China's suspected involvement in recent breaches of Commerce and State Department email systems. Committee Chairman James Comer says Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is among a group of senior U.S. officials whose emails were hacked earlier this year by a group that tech giant Microsoft claims is based in China. Now, Comer is asking both Secretary Raimondo as well as Secretary of State Antony Blinken for staff briefings on the hacks by this coming Wednesday. In his request, Comer writes that he is concerned that the attacks on federal agencies represent a new level of skill and sophistication from China's hackers. The full extent of the breach, which reportedly affected at least 24 agencies, still isn't clear, though. Impeached Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton will have his day in court on security fraud charges after his impeachment trial. Paxton was in a Houston courtroom on Thursday answering to a 3-count indictment handed down back in 2015. The case has been delayed for years and is again being pushed back due to the suspended Attorney General's impeachment. His impeachment trial before the Texas Senate is set to begin on September 5th. Paxton's attorney says the outcome of that impeachment could affect the securities fraud case in terms of a plea deal or other offer. Paxton is accused of failing to register as a securities advisor, as well as persuading 2 investors to buy at least $100,000 worth of stock in a tech company without disclosing that he would be paid for that purchase. Funeral arrangements for New Jersey Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver are set this morning. The 71-year-old passed away on Tuesday after what's being described as a sudden illness. Her body will be returned to Essex County, New Jersey next Friday, where she'll lie in state at the Essex County Historic Courthouse. The casket will be secured by a rotating honor guard from the Essex County Sheriff's Office. The public will be able to pay respects before a memorial service next weekend. She'll then be buried on Saturday afternoon during a private service. Oliver is the first black woman to serve as a New Jersey Speaker of the General Assembly. She is also the highest-ranking black official in state history. That's a quick check of your headlines. We'll have more headlines coming your way here shortly, guys.
Incredible. Still very young. She looked great.
Really, yeah.
Very sad story.
Yeah, tragic.
Terrance, by the way, in the Portland story, people in our live chat, Alexandra is saying, report the rest of the story that the doctor who got beaten up with that bottle and the rest of it now blames the defund the police policy there in Portland, which I think was implied. But I hear you. We'll give all the details. I think we ran out of time there. But yeah, I mean, the doctor's speaking out. That's great. Not enough people are speaking out about these policies.
Yeah.
Donald Trump talked about Democrat cities and how they were ridden with crime, and people didn't take it seriously, maybe.
No, and I mean, it's the drugs and the mental health and all of it. We're not tackling any of those issues.
And unfortunately, these kinds of things are happening all too frequently. There was a time when this was kind of a one-off. It was unique. But nowadays, we're telling these stories almost daily or showing video of these sorts of things happening almost daily.
That's right. In fact, that leads us perfectly to a segment we like to call
Trump was right.
So a couple days ago, to Terrance's point, we showed you San Francisco outside the Westfield Mall, people strung out on drugs. We can talk over this video. This is Philadelphia. Somebody posted this on YouTube. There's like 10 minutes of this, literally. And obviously, after a while, it's just heartbreaking.
Incredible.
And you don't want to. I mean, look at one person after another.
No, and look, you can see, I mean, you can see the drugs are obvious. I mean, this is a big part of the problem. But again, we're now living in a world where there's cocaine in the White House, and I'm not, making light of that. Like, I'm serious that it's not being dealt with at all. The drugs are just accepted. They're handing out needles. They're handing out crap. They're enabling this.
They certainly are, Terrance.
Yeah, and, I think you also have to look at the economy, the current state of the economy. While there are mental health issues that land people on the street, like in the video what we're looking at now, there are also some economic issues, some economic challenges that have created a hardship for many Americans. In fact, I was, and I meant to mention this the other day, I was in a Walmart locally, and it was late at night, it's probably 10, 11 o'clock at night, and there was a woman who I suspect was homeless, sitting in a chair kind of behind one of the cabinets, and of course everything was locked up, sleep. And I was thinking to myself, what kind of a world are we in right now where, someone is in Walmart just sleeping, trying to stay out of the elements, trying to stay cool. And it was heartbreaking, quite honestly.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah.
That was Kensington, I guess, in Philadelphia, for context. Infamous for what they call Philadelphia zombies as a result of homelessness and drugs, because you see some of those folks who were strung out. They were walking funny. They've got the zombie face, and you see this in the streets of New York City, L.A., San Francisco.
And a lot of this stems from these people mentally not being well and then self-medicating with street drugs and becoming these zombies. It's just tragic on every level.
Absolutely. Harry on the Highway sent this in about Mayor Adams in New York. By the way, Trump was right about the border crisis. Among various plans, I guess they're trying to take over literally any piece of city property, schools, to house illegal immigrants, and they're running out of space. We've shown the Roosevelt Hotel, which is full. When people get video inside, the hotel rooms have been sacked. There's liquor everywhere. Now, outside the Roosevelt Hotel, we showed earlier this week, there are people sleeping on cardboard boxes.
Like on top of each other, like spooning each other.
Because they're...
I mean, it was really... terrible.
I know. I was trying not to laugh, but Terrance is just laughing. I don't think they were spooning. I think that they were laying flat on cardboard boxes, but we can find the video. I don't mean to fact check you.
The whole idea of spooning, I don't think I've heard anyone even say that term since I was in high school. Spooning?
It was crazy. I mean, you looked and people were just like stacked up next to each other, like, they were just people on top of each other. You guys.
We believe you. We believe you.
Be funny.
Yeah, I'm entertained. I like the reference. In the mental picture, I like the reference. It's just funny.
There you go. But let's get back to Mayor Adams, because he's got no answers for any of this. And Harry says now he's talking about Like basically, Karyn, turn your place on Long Island into an Airbnb. We'll give you $100 or something. I'm serious. And house an illegal immigrant if you in the basement or whatever. Here's Mayor Adams.
It is my vision to take the next step to this, to go to the faith-based locales, and then move to private residence.
Is there room in your home for an asylum seeker? Mayor Adams is working on a plan to pay New York City homeowners to house them, perhaps $100 a night or more.
There are residents who are suffering right now because of economic challenges. They have spare rooms. It's cheaper and it's a good investment for us to go to a family and assist them instead of placing people in large congregate settings or in these emergency hotels.
I mean, who in their right mind is just going to randomly take someone in? But go ahead, Terrance, I see you.
I mean, is how many people is Mayor Adams taking in?
Right. How big is his
people?
house?
I want to know. I want a list of all the Democrats, where they live, how many they're taking in, and they should inspire others.
Go ahead,
Terrance. Mr. Mayor, why wasn't there this sort of urgency dealing with the homeless population that has been happening?
Americans who are here without homes.
In the city for decades. Why no urgency then? But all of a sudden now there's this urgency to find homes for immigrants who are here illegally. What changed?
Yeah, Terrance, great point.
It's making them look bad. That's what changed. Only when it personally affects him is this man going to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, Terrance, could you imagine having a home in New York? You take in a couple of asylum seekers, as he says, or illegal immigrants for $100 each or whatever, and they start spooning in your basement.
As long as they're not spooning me, I'm okay.
All right, there you go.
I knew you were going to go.
You saw me winding that up.
I did.
We'll take a quick break. We'll sweat it out with Richard Simmons. Spooning with the oldies, as they say. Beard vest, stay awake, not woke, right after this.
I got 46 problems, but the truth ain't one. If you have the woke problems, I feel bad for you, bruh. I got 46 problems, but the truth ain't one. Hit me.
interesting because that sounds true. It's a song, and you can download and stream it. But playing in Ukraine, I mean, John Solomon's got a scoop this morning about Joe Biden as vice president. We'll talk about it next hour. As vice president, he's trying to help his family with a Chinese energy company, not an American energy. He's not
crazy.
And then day one as president, by the way, when you fast forward, he shuts down the Keystone Pipeline, kills American jobs. If you really want to take the story further. So why was he doing the bidding of a Chinese energy company and not helping American energy? Well, maybe he doesn't care about our energy independence, one. But two, if he helps an American energy company, they're not going to line his family's pockets, right? But to the CCP,
maybe he's truly a communist.
You know what? If you had said that at the beginning of it, I might have said, oh, that's a little harsh. And now I'm thinking, you know what? When the CCP is lining your family's pockets, maybe you are.
Yeah.
How about that? I think you're right. Karyn was right. How about that? But that's not the segment. It's Stay Awake, Not Woke. Don't be like Joe Biden and make us energy dependent on China. Make us energy.
And wake up. Don't be Sleepy Joe.
Exactly. That's a good point. You took it further. Be energy independent with BeardVet. Not just the great coffee, beardvet.com, but now it's almost not even an energy drink. It's like an energy pump where you'll get a lot of energy drinks out of this because you can get 1, 2, 3 pumps or whatever in whatever beverage you want, whether it's water, it's club soda, whatever. Get a little pep. Comes from coffee, no calories, no sugar. And obviously on the weekend, you can maybe mix it with an adult beverage or two. And that's what people do as long as they do it responsibly. In the meantime, we talk about Stay Awake, Not Woke in terms of exposing the woke agenda. Let's put this one up and then we'll bring in Terrance for a little reaction. I don't know if you know this, Karyn. Libs of TikTok gets the credit. In Virginia right now, if you've got kids in the public schools, if you do not want your kids to see porn, which I assume you wouldn't want them to see that, you have the responsibility, and you see it's blacked out because they don't want to show who leaked this. You have the responsibility as a parent to opt out and inform the school, I do not want someone as young as a kindergartner to see porn. Go ahead.
I'm looking at the pop-up there. Yes, I want my child to have access to sexually explicit content in school libraries.
Or,
like, how much more specific could you get?
Or no, to take your point further, I do not want my child to have access to sexually explicit content in the school libraries. And this report claims that the kids, we're not talking about 14, 15, puberty, let's talk about different situations and let's be smart and not just goof around about it and be serious about the biology. They're saying it's as young as kindergarten.
Incredible.
Terrance?
Incredible.
You've got kids. Don't know if they're in public or private. Your business, it's private. That kind of information, but you've got kids. We all have kids. Mine are out of school. But can you believe that you have to opt out as a parent in Virginia right now? Say, I don't want porn?
That's crazy. But again, this goes back to, as parents, we all need to be vigilant. We need to be checking our kids' book bags. And I'm sorry, I've gotten to that point now. I try to make sure I know what's coming home, what they're reading. And that's our responsibility. I really believe this. I don't want to get on a soapbox, but I believe that our responsibility as parents is to know what's going on in our kids, what they have access to, what they're being exposed to. And that means if you need to be at the schoolhouse every day, just hovering around talking to the teachers, then that's what you might need to be doing in order to protect your kids. Because I think we all know that education is now being taken out of the hands of parents. And there are lots of people who are trying to indoctrinate kids on many different levels. And so to counter that, you've got to be involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you tie it all together like that, too, like there's no other option. You have to be engaged now.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it.
You can't rely on anybody else.
Let's go on to New Mexico. That was the Commonwealth of Virginia. Let's go to the state of New Mexico. There you go. The Department of Health's school survey tells fourth graders, Karyn, that they can seek help for their sexual health, quote, without permission from their parent. That's the key part. They then ask 11-year-olds if they're transgender, gay, bi, or if they use the Z here pronoun. I didn't even know there's a pronoun Z or HIR, or whatever the heck that means. Karyn, 11 years old, you can talk to us about sexual health without permission from your parents.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I don't even know these pronouns that are on the bottom. Z, here, hers. I mean, it sounds like hers anyway. So how do you know what? I mean,
And here's the crazy
This
part.
is all
Kids
so
do know.
confusing.
The kids know.
They know.
Because they've been taught this.
They've been taught this, and they know all this and can explain it to you. Been there, done that. Like, I've had kids explain, I'm like, what, huh? And, they're like, oh, this is that, Dad, and this is that. It's a strange new world.
It certainly is.
Incredible.
Can I take it one further? Look at Calvin Klein. Someone posted
no, I
this.
don't want to. Do we have to?
1992, right? I have a friend who used to work at Calvin Klein. They used to sell that underwear. They tried to make it interesting. This is 2022. This was some of their ads. Is it?
Is that
I think
Mark?
so.
Is that Marky Mark on the left?
Yeah.
Because wasn't he like?
on the left.
I guess now I'm sorry. He's Mark Wahlberg now. I'm sorry.
Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, that would make sense. But he had the ripped abs, and he was like, "Hey, let's do this."
Yeah.
And now it's like, this is what we're selling. Bud Light didn't work out for them.
I just said it's a strange new world.
Strange world.
It's a strange new world.
Quick break, brand new hour. We'll try to get that spooning video right after this. But to us, the big star would be the real American voices.
Jesus!
All right, yes. Lost his line there.
That's okay.
A very big thank you to Ed Henry and Karyn Turk and Terrance Bates on America's Sunrise. Watch America's Sunrise.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to This American Sunrise.
Live from West Palm Beach.
There you go.
And channeling my inner South Floridian here in our Denver, Colorado studios. Good morning, everyone. I figured I would pull out the bright colors, guys, the pink and the kind of vibrant colors. Isn't this Miami?
Yeah, that's very Miami. I love it. Looking good as always.
All right,
in the meantime, yeah, I'm loving that. I don't know if you saw this breaking news overnight. Check out Just the News, justthenews.com. We'll check in with Joey Webbs in a little bit. Maybe he's got more on this and some other stories. But there's now text messages that John Solomon has uncovered that the FBI has, we're told, that show that China wanted the Biden family to help acquire U.S. energy assets. And so they were doing the bidding of, as you see, that company there, which is a Chinese energy company. And this was going on in 2015. Here's the point. Joe Biden was not working for America First. He was working for a Chinese energy company, essentially doing their bidding.
Right.
And most importantly, was he out of office? Was he a private citizen? No, this was 2015 when he was a sitting vice president. Yeah. Why is he helping a CCP-backed energy company and not helping American energy. Well, the CCP-backed company is lining his family's pockets.
It seems pretty simple that he's owned by China. I mean, that would be the shortest way to get
key
there.
takeaway.
Yeah.
And,
Terrance?
we're seeing more and more evidence coming out about questionable, at best, business dealings, not just involving Hunter Biden, but it looks like extending to then Vice President Joe Biden.
Right. And so is he compromised now as president? It would seem an obvious yes. And then to take John Solomon's scoop further, if the FBI has these, what the hell have they done with them? And if the FBI has them, why haven't the House Republicans moved closer and closer to impeachment? Because this would be another piece of evidence, wouldn't it? I mean, isn't this more evidence of the need for impeachment than like a phone call that Donald Trump had with the Ukrainian president? Just asking.
Do you want evidence to matter? I mean, do we know whose cocaine was in the White House? Were the fingerprints on
We
the
never
bag?
found
Was
that
there-
out.
But yet they were able to round up everybody on January 6th, including little old ladies.
Ed, you raise a great point, though, because we have repeatedly heard top Republicans, particularly in the House, say that, we still need more evidence for just an impeachment inquiry. And again, that's key. They're saying inquiry, and there are even calls for more evidence. At what time is there enough evidence to really start moving forward and putting some action behind those words? And that's probably one of the criticisms that I think is fair criticism of Republicans on Capitol Hill right now, is that there's a lot of talk, but there doesn't seem to be any real significant action behind that talk.
Well, you make a good point, and let me take it further, which is that we've also heard some Democrats, right? We've played these clips where they're reading from the same song sheet, right, as talking points. So saying there's a lot of allegations, there's smoke. There's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything wrong. They've said that again every weekend on the Sunday Talk.
Again and again.
But to Terrance's point, go read just the news.
Looks like there's some evidence.
There's evidence, right? And if and the broader point again is not to beat a dead horse here, but it's not just John Solomon saying, I heard this. John Solomon's saying the FBI's got these texts.
Here it is.
Doesn't the FBI investigate any of this stuff if it's a Democrat? What are we doing?
Present the evidence. Even if you present it in Congress during an impeachment hearing, present the evidence. If Congress members and if the Senate decides, okay, this evidence isn't credible, okay, then let that be. But don't say there's no evidence. There is evidence. Whether it's credible or not, that's for someone else to decide. But don't impugn the evidence. There's evidence. There are these allegations here, and there seems to be substance to them. So put it in front of a body to go through it and decide whether it's credible enough to rise to an impeachment.
And they use a much lower bar to indict Donald Trump again and again. But meanwhile,
Different
the
set of
Bidens,
rules. Different set of
And we'll
rules.
get to the latest Trump indictment in a minute. In the meantime, we've got a new word salad from the word salad vice president. Watch.
In particular, we will discuss the work that we will do together to strengthen our space cooperation. You and I spoke briefly about the beginning of the next era, and for you, what that means in terms of your leadership and your vision for the future. And certainly strengthening our space cooperation would be a part of that agenda, including, of course, using our space cooperation to think about how we strengthen the economic prosperity and development of our nations.
Your leadership, your vision, certainly strengthening our cooperation about the prosperity and development. It's just a whole bunch of salad.
Yeah, I know.
And it doesn't really lead anywhere.
I wonder how much of that he understood. And again, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm wondering because if you looked at his face, it was like, huh? That's the impression I got. That's what I saw. Is I'm trying to put all of this together. What you're saying.
So we've done a little digging, and Karyn, we ribbed Karyn a little bit last hour about the border crisis and how it's impacting New York City, whether they're spooning. Let's put it up. I believe this is a photo we used earlier this week from former Congressman Peter King, who was walking through the streets of Manhattan. Karyn, this is what you're referring to, right?
Yes, and I didn't mean it they're on top of each other.
Yeah.
They're like spooning. I mean, they're on the streets. Like, this is tragic. It's horrible. There's a humanitarian crisis happening, and I'm not trying to make light of it. And Terrance is laughing, but when I used the word spooning, I didn't know it was going to get this reaction from both of you. So
I tried to keep going, and Terrance started laughing. But they're opposite, aren't they? Opposite, though. They're not.
I mean, now that I look at it, but at quick glance, I didn't analyze the photo. It just kind of went.
You just threw out spooning without analyzing it, but I get it.
Look at it again. Karyn, chat, back me up. here.
You know there are rules now. There are rules for spooning now. In order to be defined as spooning, there are rules here.
There's rules?
Right.
I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Okay. All right. Ant, one of our great friends of the Live Shout and Getter, says hashtag no spooning. But American, who is this now? American Mark says street spooning. So, there's a mixed bag there. So we have a little fun with you.
I feel like that's what it looked like.
All right, that's fair. Well, we have some laughs, right? Which is what they used to do on Seinfeld. I don't know if you've seen this Seinfeld reboot. They always talk about, are they going to get back together? And, see, you're interested now, right? Look at that. He's like,
Seinfeld.
Okay, so what most people think about with the show was the writing of Larry David and others who created it, comedic geniuses, the characters, right? Seinfeld and Elaine, right? Is that who it was, right? And the whole group and all their interactions. George. But it was the beginning of the show was when Seinfeld would tell jokes and they would show the credits, and it was the beginning, right? So here's your reboot.
They want to ban straws. Has anybody ever tried those paper straws? They're not working too good, right? Has anybody ever tried, seriously, the new straws made out of paper, right? It disintegrates as you drink it. If you have a nice tie like this tie, this would have no chance. By the time you get finished, the straw is totally disintegrated. Does anybody walk around with a plastic straw? Because it's not bad. You whip it out, boom, boom. You never had to do that. So they want to ban straws. They said, oh, really? What about the cart? What about the plate? What about the knives and the spoons that are plastic? Oh, they're okay. But the straws we got to ban.
Terrance, I would watch that.
I would watch that too, and I'm sorry, but the credits were hilarious. Elizabeth Warren as Pocahontas. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
What do we do without the internet? All right, let's get back to the serious business of the indictment, the latest indictment, right? The third. The fourth may be coming out of Georgia very soon. And it's interesting because you always hear, well, he doesn't, does Donald Trump really have any black support? Well, you've seen this group, Blacks for Trump. They travel around the country. I remember you told me about that, out on the campaign trail and whatnot. And they were in Washington yesterday, and they were standing up for their man, Donald Trump. Watch.
I'm here to show Jack Smith that he's a punk. That's right. And that he's an ugly sellout. That's right. And I'm here to let him know that he's going to jail for treason. That's right. That's right. Him and Biden and Obama and all of the other suckers that are going against Trump for no reason. They want to parade the man that we call King Cyrus like they did in every other country. They'll conquer the country and parade the king around in handcuffs to humiliate us. But I'm here to testify that you will be humiliated. That's right. We have to keep all laws. We can't do nothing. We run a red light, we go to jail. These people here are free. I mean, Hunter Biden, look at this little punk. This dude is free to snort coke on camera, get guns, break every rule and law, don't pay taxes. They don't even want to put him in jail. But if I did it, you're going to jail for 9,216 years. That's right. That's unfair. Because you know what that is? Exodus 12:49, the Bible said there should be one law for all, as does the 14th Amendment. So I'm here to make sure, give me my rights, give me liberty, or give you death. That's right. And that's what it is. We're not playing with y'all. You understand? We real black men.
We're not playing with y'all. We're real. I saw you laugh, but what do you think? Or smiling, I should say. Yeah.
I'm smiling.
Because he's very theatric with how he presents it.
It's theatrical, but I get the fundamental point. And I'm not trying to go to jail for 9,216 years for anybody. That's right. I get the point. The theatrics, I think, sometimes takes away from the fundamental point that there are these two tiers of justice. But
it gets attention. It gets it to the theatrics gets some attention, so it's like, it's a double-edged
and they get their
sword.
point across. And guess what? There is a point about two tiers of justice. So we teed this up last hour, Terrance. I did an item about it. Let's dig a little deeper about Democrat Dan Goldman, who came out of the Devon Archer testimony there earlier this week behind closed doors and lied, basically. Let's just say it. He said that Devon Archer, the Hunter buddy, said there was an illusion of access. And you see all the headlines on the right there from the Bidens, not actual access. But then you look at the transcript, and you see under Q is in question from Dan Goldman. The access, Terrance, to his father was an illusion of access to his father. Is that right? That's maybe called leading the witness, right? And you see it again and again in the transcript. So Dan Goldman, if you follow this, guys, is behind closed doors. We don't have cameras to see what's going on. All these media outlets buy it when he leaves the room and says Devon Archer testified there was an illusion of access. Days later, we get the transcript you just saw that says, well, Devon Archer never really used the phrase illusion of access, Karen. Dan Goldman did, and then came out and told us that's what Archer said.
Incredible.
I know it might sound confusing, but they come up with the talking point. They stick it to Archer. He says, well, yeah,
and they all have
maybe.
the same talking point. You know, I imagine they save a lot of money. They don't have to hire a lot of people because they just copy each other's stuff, right?
Yeah.
Have they cut costs on their employees and things? I mean, it's terrible. I hope these people have jobs.
Yeah,
but.
I hear you.
And I'd like your perspective on this because, again, I think I've been clear that I felt like, from what I've read, a lot of the statements from Devon Archer were carefully crafted, probably lawyered, so that he didn't give away too much. You know, and it seemed like there were these leading questions from both sides trying to get to a point or make a point, and there's the appearance that Devon Archer understood what they were trying to get at, and he kind of talked around it. Yes, this is what you're trying to say, or I think this is what you're trying to say. This is my perspective. What were your thoughts?
Yeah.
You've read some of it as well.
My
I'm
thoughts
curious.
are, you know, having not been through a criminal inquiry like he's facing right now, I would imagine the key phrase you used was that he had lawyered up, right? And before this testimony, remember where we were last weekend, there were reports that the feds, through Joe Biden and his DOJ, were trying to put Devon Archer in jail for a sentence he's facing. And frankly, there's so many of these allegations flying around. I can't remember what he pled guilty to or what he was convicted on, but I'm assuming it had to do with some lobbying. So he's now trying, that's why he carefully negotiated, to tell the truth about what he saw about the Bidens. But he's already facing jail time, right? So if he starts talking too much and they say, well, what about China? And he starts going down rabbit holes, not just about the Bidens, maybe, I don't know this because I wasn't in the room with Devon Archer, I'm not an attorney, obviously, but Devon Archer starts creating new criminal jeopardy for himself because this weaponized DOJ is going to get the transcript that Terrance Bates was going through and say, wait a second, so Devon Archer's admitting that he also gave money to so-and-so in order to try to implicate. Let's put him in jail for longer. And guess what? Hunter and Joe will go away, and Devon might face more criminal jeopardy.
And might be the fall guy. I don't know. I kind of
because they want him to shut up.
Yeah, they do want him to shut up.
So they want
I don't
pressure.
think he's going to shut up. I think, you know, he seems like he's liking the spotlight a lot, so I don't think he's going to shy away from it. I think he's going to continue to open his mouth.
Yeah.
But
well, it's interesting when even CBS News and the mainstream media is calling out a Democrat like Goldman. Watch.
Well, earlier this week, we just had to rely on the characterization from Republicans and Democrats about Devon Archer's testimony, but now we can see the full transcript. You'll recall that Democrat Congressman Dan Goldman said that Archer testified that it was the illusion of access to Joe Biden that Hunter Biden was offering to these clients. But in fact, when you look at the transcript, what you see is that that phrase, illusion of access, is in Dan Goldman's question. It's actually not what Devon Archer testified to. He says, yes, but that's not quite fair. This was about showing that there was the signal that there's influence and access here.
Yeah, so that point was made. Jonathan Turley goes further. E9, guys. Devon Archer transcript is out, as we said. Archer also said, guys, that Ukraine wanted Hunter Biden to help relieve pressure from the prosecutors looking at corruption. They wanted the Bidens to take the heat off. And as we later found out, when Joe Biden, as vice president, said, SOB, I got them to fire the guy, Turley points out, Karen, Biden later insisted on the firing.
Prosecutor.
Isn't that kind of amazing?
It's unbelievable.
And that shows corruption. E10, Colin Rugg has this from the transcript. Archer's testimony reveals Burisma would have most likely gone out of business if it was not for Biden. When Joe was not serving as VP, he was basically saving a Ukrainian oil company. I will add this, not a U.S. oil company. Quote, my only thought is that I think Burisma would have gone out of business if it did not have the Biden brand attached to it.
The Biden brand,
So both
there
of you,
it is.
I want you both to weigh in on this. Like, what in the actual heck is going on here when a president, and then at some point, to be fair, a former vice president, is saving a Ukrainian energy company from going bankrupt because the Biden brand is going to prop you up, and then you're going to give my son $80,000 a month as a consultant.
Oh.
And that's not influence peddling?
The globalists have infiltrated our White House. That's what I got.
Yeah, and Terrance, I want you to react to this. This is the soundbite where Biden bragged about getting that prosecutor in Ukraine fired. Watch.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Well,
Karyn,
What?
did he not boast that he got...
just said it. Are you kidding?
This has been on camera for years.
Why are we interfering in another country's politics, first and foremost, but also there was an investigation going on. All of this had to do with an investigation by this prosecutor into Burisma. So here in the United States, I think we might call that some sort of tampering in an investigation. If you get a lead investigator
like Merrick
fired,
Garland is doing now.
Wow.
I'm trying to connect a couple of dots here.
Right. But think about that. What he's saying contextually, guys, is that they were waiting for a check from Obama and aid money, and he's saying, you ain't getting it until you fire him. And guess what? They fired the SOB.
Right.
That's pressure. That's doing the bidding of the company that's paying your son. Nuts.
And then being totally just callous and cocky about it, too.
He was boasting about it. I think he was former vice president when he boasted about it. He was like telling tales about how powerful Joe Biden was. Mark Levin had this. Finally, James Comer agrees with me. For weeks, I've said Joe Biden is a co-conspirator in Hunter's FARA criminal violations, not filing the federal paperwork to lobby. We didn't need Archer's testimony to demonstrate it. It underscores what we already knew. That means Joe Biden, Karyn, should be impeached. At a minimum, where is that impeachment inquiry that Terrance was talking about? It's time to move beyond hand-wringing and onto constitutional mode. Now, Hannity calls Levin the great one, and I think the great one makes a great point, which is that it is time for the House Republicans to get off their butts and do something.
Absolutely. And if you look back at the things that they've tried to stick it to Trump, they tried to stick it with the Foreign Agents Registration Act previously with him, saying that people were donating. They'll throw anything out there to cover their tracks.
Let the chips fall where they fall. If you feel like you've got the evidence, and I think there's volumes of it, put the evidence out there. Let the chips fall where they fall. Let the people who are going to evaluate that evidence decide if there's merit to it and move forward.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And yet all these House Democrats keep saying, where's the evidence? And as Terrance just said, it's right underneath your nose, folks. And it's time for the House Republicans to stick it to those House Democrats, say, here's the evidence, and we're going to bring up an actual inquiry and move on to impeachment. Coming up, we're going to tell you, you saw the third indictment of Donald Trump yesterday? Rush Limbaugh, the late, great Rush Limbaugh, predicted all of this. We'll play that clip right after this. That's right. The world smash hit from Gary Lake and the Truth Bombers. Download and stream. And we got Forgiato Blow coming up. He's got a brand new song about Donald Trump.
Amazing.
And how he won the last election. It's going to be quite interesting. You're going to love
cool.
it. Time to drain the swamp. How about that? This is sponsored by Sea of Mud, seaofmud.com. You see the promo code right there, RAV1776. You get 15% off. I think our conversation about Ukraine, Trader Joe's, Trader with a T, where everything is for sale, that applies to our Ukraine conversation, obviously. Ukraine on the membrane, as you might say.
Yeah.
Cocaine on the plane to Ukraine, as the song says. But also applies to John Solomon's scoop this morning about the CCP, right? So as vice president in 2015, you want to talk about a swamp deal.
How deep is a swamp?
Right? How deep is the swamp? Trader Joe's. Joe might have been a traitor by stepping up and backing and helping, doing the bidding of a CCP-backed Chinese energy firm. Why? So that they would line the pockets of Hunter and the Biden family. And who's getting hurt by that? One would expect that some American energy companies would be pretty upset about why the vice president of the United States in 2015 wasn't standing up for them.
It's
like America
incredible.
first.
I knew we put that clip just now where he admitted the prosecutor.
He laid the whole scheme out. That he's sitting there and they're waiting for a check of like $1 billion in aid from the U.S. government. So that
So
matters.
I held it over this guy's head, and I told him he needed to fire the prosecutor.
And then he said, well, no, it's not you. Obama's writing the check. And he said, no, you call Obama and ask him. I'm the vice president, right? Okay, and SOB, they fired him. Joe was boasting, and he let out the scheme, the whole bribery scheme, the whole influence peddling scheme in Ukraine. He let it out there. That was, I believe, as a former vice president, he was talking at the Council of Foreign Relations. And to your point, he was boasting, like, I'm a tough guy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Obama that got that done. I got it done. But did you get it done for America, America first?
No, his own personal agenda for the Biden brand, as they call it.
Thank you.
Biden brand.
Thank you. Well, somebody who was always America first, and we still miss him, is the late, great Rush Limbaugh. And it's interesting because this week, this clip has resurfaced, and it happens from time to time where there's something big in the news. So there's another Trump indictment. People are saying this clip of a clearly thin and frail Rush Limbaugh in his final days, suffering from lung cancer, kind of laid out what might be ahead, what the Democrats' scheme might be. Watch.
I know they desperately want Trump gone, and I know that they desperately want it codified, that Trump cannot run again, because make no mistake, they remain scared to death of you, and they remain scared to death of Trump. Trump, 75 million, 80 million votes, and I'm going to tell you, you're not going anywhere. Even if Trump does, you're not. They can't separate you from Trump. And more importantly, they can't separate you from the ideas. They can't separate you from MAGA. They can't separate you from Make America Great Again, which I think remains one of our big campaign strengths going forward. They believe that they can destroy this bond that exists between you and Trump if they somehow make Trump look bad, make Trump look like a reprobate, embarrass you about Trump. They can't do it because you came before Trump.
I'm fascinated by that clip because he was sort of laying out the indictments without directly saying that they were going to come after him. But that, what you always say, and President Trump says, they're not really going after Trump. They're going after all of us. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you catch when he said 80
million? Yeah, I did. I
80
thought
million
80
votes by bleep?
by bleep, yeah.
That man was smart, and he was ahead of his time.
He was ahead of his time.
In his dying days, talking about this. But what I also
saw coming.
Yeah, and what I take from that clip, though, is even as he knew he was dying, his hope that and optimism that the MAGA movement would survive. Wasn't he saying that?
He was saying that for sure, yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
True icon.
It really is. And I see one person after another in our live chat on Getter and Rumble, all those great places saying we simply miss Rush, and we certainly do. And I thought we would play that. Limbaugh always took on the mainstream media. When you talk about the swamp, the mainstream media is certainly part of the swamp. This is NBC News. promoting a pride camp. Tom Elliott had a tweet about this for young kids. Some of the kids in the video appear to be about 6 years old, but they say, you know what, Karyn, it's all about inclusivity and self-expression. Watch.
Summer camp is a time for kids to make lifelong memories, right? And that is exactly what New York's New Country Pride Camp says that it does, all while aiming to also be inclusive.
Yeah, it's amazing. The camp website describes it as a welcoming community of LGBTQ plus young people and staff to create an experience where everyone is able to thrive. NBC News correspondent Stephen Romo got a firsthand look at the camp. Stephen, did it make you want to be a kid again?
Yeah, wow. It brought back so many memories, guys. This camp's only in its third year right now, but parents and organizers agree it's much needed, a place where these kids can not just be tolerated, but celebrated. For many kids, camp helps add some sparkle to their summers.
Our glitters a little chunkier.
At New Country Pride Camp, that sparkle is a lot more literal. The 14th Street Y and New Country Day Camp are in the middle of Pride Camp. Now, in its third year, the program is specifically aimed at serving LGBTQ plus kids.
I'm outraged by the camp itself, but the idea that NBC is like, oh, it's so great.
I'm outraged that, the people who work there are willing to support this. Are they moms? Are they moms? Do they, I'm not trying to judge anybody's parenting, but I just don't understand, how this is newsworthy. You have to at some point.
The economic news is sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
I can hear it in Karyn's voice, Terrance. We're going to turn to the economic news. She's still pretty outraged, not just about the camp, but NBC News saying this is such a nice thing.
And you said one of the girls looked familiar, and I'm like, oh, she sold her soul
One of the
now.
reporters I remember I worked with.
Sold her soul.
But Terrance, you said it last hour. I'm trying to remember, and there's the opening bell. You said something like this is just a crazy upside-down world, and this is what we're dealing with now, as we were talking about what's going on in Virginia and New Mexico, and now a pride camp for kids who were basically in first or second grade. It looked like they were pretty young.
It's a strange new world. We're doing things and talking about things, and society is moving a place that even 5 years ago I don't think would have even been fathomable.
I think you're absolutely right. By the way, the bell's open. The market's open after that bell. Dow Jones up about 70, S&P up 13, NASDAQ up 78. It's significant because last couple of days has been a lot of red after that Fitch rating, the downgrade, because I think it's because of all the runaway federal spending from the Biden administration as well as Congress. Let's call it out, not just Democrats, but Republicans. Yeah. McCarthy's been along for this crazy ride of spending, and they're not doing anything about it. But Terrance, the floor is yours.
Well, you teed me up perfectly, Ed, because Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen calls the credit rating service Fitch's decision to downgrade the U.S.'s credit rating unwarranted.
At the end of the day, Fitch's decision does not change what all of us already know, that Treasury securities remain the world's preeminent safe and liquid asset, and that the American economy is fundamentally strong.
Fitch obviously disagrees that it is now the second of three major credit rating companies to drop the U.S.'s credit rating from AAA, which, by the way, is the highest, to AA+. The company cites the federal government's rising debt burden and political difficulties within the U.S. government addressing spending and tax policies as a reason for the downgrade. And looking down the road, Fitch also says that it expects, and I'm quoting here, fiscal deterioration over the next 3 years, a high and growing general government debt burden, and the erosion of governance compared with other countries with similar debt ratings. We're now days away from the Durban Accords. It's the greatest threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in the past 80 years. On August 22nd, which is now just a few weeks away, BRICS nations, which is made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are expected to announce the launch of a new international supercurrency that's fully backed by gold or other commodities. This is all part of their long-term plan to supplant the United States and the U.S. dollar as cornerstones of the global financial system. So, how can you protect your IRA or your 401k from the fallout from this landmark announcement? The answer? Diversify with gold from the Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which of course is right now. So get a free information kit on gold IRAs and decide for yourself if a tax-sheltered retirement account backed by physical precious metals is right for you. You can do so simply by texting the word America to the number 989898. There's a monumental shift happening right now among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP, and it kicks off on August 22nd. So arm yourself with information to protect your retirement savings by texting the word America to the number 989898 and claiming your free information kit on gold from the Birch Gold Group. That's a quick check of your economic headlines.
That's fantastic, Terrance. I want to put this up. Gavin Newsom, he's going to debate DeSantis now. And can he really make the case that he's going to do for the country what he did for California? Babylon Bee, state with no electricity orders everyone to drive cars that run on electricity.
Again, a very true headline from the Babylon Bee.
That's why we put them up, Terrance, because Karyn says this all the time, right? Truth is stranger than fiction. In California, there actually is a state law that by like 2035 or 2030, you have to have an e-vehicle. And all the time they're talking, particularly in the summer, about brownouts, blackouts, and they don't have enough electricity. What are you going to do?
And you know what? It's funny because I'm thinking that there really may be some policy behind this, policy ideas in California that, on days of brownouts, people wouldn't be able to charge their vehicles, and so it'll cut down on pollution. So there's this whole green thing going behind this. I get it's a joke and it's satire, but I could see some lawmakers there in California thinking out some sort of long-term plan to include climate change and all kinds of other things.
I got you.
Sorry, yeah.
It's crazy. As you said, a strange, strange world. You said it last hour, and you were right. Quick break. We're going to be back with Joey Webbs, who, let's just say, is not winning in the tie department today. We'll talk about that and whatever scoops they have at Just the News. And then we'll unveil a brand new song that I think you're going to love from our man, Borgiato Blow. Is there a bigger patriot than this guy? He's live next.
Never trust the feds. We the people make America great again. Love your country, take pride. Deep state can't vibe with them.
Sunrise from the great Ted Nugent, Uncle Ted. Make sure you're streaming him tonight and all weekend long. There was a nice shot of Worth Avenue, the clock tower, right into the ocean there. As he came on the show and he said, every sunrise is sacred, and he's right.
It's a beautiful place to be.
Absolutely. Time to get to a 60-second sunrise. Let's make sure Joe keeps it to that. Joey Webbs, there he is. The man, the myth, the legend. A lot of people have been waiting an hour and a half for this very segment. Joe, good morning. Welcome back. Good morning. We're going to get to John Solomon's, pardon me, big scoop. But what do you have this morning?
Yeah, it's interesting. A new poll from Marist, PBS, NPR shows that nearly 3/4 of Republicans prioritize the economy over the environment. And here's why. When they last did this poll in 2018, it was about 58% preferred the climate over the economy, over their concerns. Now it's about even. That's because Republicans, those who at least identify Republicans in this poll, was about 59% of them said the last time that the climate change was important, the economy was important. Now 72% does. And I think what's interesting here quickly is that your viewers might say, well, what's new about this? And it's really not, but I really do think it sort of validates where voters are right now. And there's that middle ground. There's people in the middle deciding which one it is. And the 2014 candidates are really going to have to decide where they're going to make their appeal. Is it going to be the economy or climate change?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Sorry, I got distracted because of my next question for you, and I'll explain why I was distracted, because it's funny. But your question on that, and then I want to get to Solomon.
Well, my question wasn't actually on that. My question was more about the inspiration for today's outfit.
All right, I'll get to it.
Taking fashion nods from, and I think that person would be Joey Webbs.
Joey Webbs has inspired a generation of viewers now that are flocking to Real America's Voice, and he wore a bow tie. And we got a little jealous, frankly, because the live chats have been focused on Joe and not me.
Now, are they talking about you?
So the live chat today has exploded. Tina from Texas says, I'm digging the bow tie. I noticed that you and Terrance did not mention the bow tie for the first hour and a half. I won't be upset.
I wanted to wait until we had Joe because I wanted Joe to get the full credit for this. I wanted him to understand the impact that he's had on you on the show.
He's had a huge impact. Ravmod1, who really is the president of your fan club, said we need Ed and Joe side by side. So I'm going to try to get to D.C.
Nice.
That would actually is funny. Maybe we could do this. And Ralph from Ralph and Chuck gets the credit. He gave me this bow tie. He's been bugging me. On Fox and Friends, I used to wear red, white, and blue ties sometimes. But then, I don't know, for whatever reason, you just like to mix up the colors. You wear a lot of different colors.
It's the morning. I like to bring, the bright and the sunny.
So, Joe, you have the floor because there's been so much attention focused on you, and I was trying to take it away. I feel bad now. I'm sorry.
Hey, no, I only really have to just quote from the movie Hangover. This is your day to shine, Ed.
Wait, was that in Hangover? There were other lines you can't quote, I don't think. So you got me scared when you said, I want to quote Hangover, because the great Forgiato Blow's coming up, and his eyes bulged out when he heard you quoting Hangover. Let's quickly, and I do say quickly, because Karyn wants to keep you to 60 seconds. John Solomon, we'll put it up. Text messages, in all seriousness, given to the FBI. China wanted the Biden family to help acquire U.S. energy assets for a CPP, the CPC. Why am I saying?
CCP,
I'm losing my
CCP,
mind.
yeah.
CCP
It's a tongue twister.
energy company. Why were the Bidens going with a CCP-backed company? Is it because it was lining their pockets? And what has the FBI done with these text messages? I feel like nothing's happened. It's because of the great reporting of John Solomon. We even know about this, but no one's doing anything.
Well, a couple of things here real quick. Obviously, to your question, whether it all proves true or not, but it appears as if there were just millions and millions of dollars on the table, right? As much as $10 million they talked about, at least particularly with the Burisma deal. And here's what's really interesting about this. This is a new person. This email acquired from a former business partner, Hunter Biden. His name is James Gilliar. I have not heard him before, and these were given to us. But here's what's interesting about him. It says the one email that says that in a 2017 email shows that this relationship that was going to sort of be forged with this energy conglomerate in China started all the way back in 2015 when Biden was vice president. And let me just quote it very quickly. It says, there will be a deal between one of these most prominent families from the U.S. and the China business that was constructed by me. Hunter Biden's business partner, James Gillian, texted future business partner, Tony Bobolinsky.
Yeah,
and I think we all remember who he is, And one last quick point I'd like to make here. After Devin Archer testified earlier this week, James Comer, and Jim Jordan, the two committee chairmen in the House, said, this testimony is going to be a roadmap for where we will go with our investigations in the Biden family going forward.
Yeah.
Other people will be named. He named Jim Biden as one of them, as a matter of fact, and now another one's coming up. So this is foreshadowing to see that I think more and more people are going to be coming into this invited. The web is widening here.
The web. The web with
You
the
caught
webs.
that. Webs is widening, like in terms of your influence. Joe Weber with a 600-second sunrise. Joe, we appreciate it. Well, we tease him. Have a great weekend. In the meantime, let's get to 2024. It's getting saucy. This is sponsored by RedStateBBQ.com. Use that promo code RAV10, get 10% off. Simply the best sauces, the bird rub, the pork rub, all the rest of it. You like to mix it up with pasta, macaroni and cheese, whatever it may be. We want you to support this great patriotic company. They just do fabulous, put together fabulous food, and they're down there in Lexington, Kentucky, and it's a nice little red dot in a blue area. And it's great patriotic company. So support them, RedStateBBQ.com. I can't think of a bigger patriot than our friend Forgiato Blow. He joins us this morning. He's a great musician. The man works harder than almost anybody I know. Good morning. Welcome back.
How are you doing? Good to see you guys. Welcome back. I've been here a lot. I love it.
We love it. We love having you. Now, we're going to unveil a new song that you've got coming out today in a minute. You had one recently that I think was called Witch Hunt. It was talking about 2 tiers of justice. Let's watch Alina Habba outside the court in D.C. yesterday, laying out a very interesting timeline. We'll let you both react. Watch.
On March 17th, Hunter accidentally admits that it was his laptop from hell. The next day, DA Alvin Bragg indicts President Trump. June 8th, an FBI document is released showing that the Ukrainians paid the Biden crime family millions and millions of dollars. The next day, the Mar-a-Lago raid and the Mar-a-Lago indictment. Last week, Hunter Biden's sweetheart plea deal fell through when the judge realized it had blanket immunity. The following day, a superseding indictment against Donald Trump. July 31st, Devin Archer goes to testify in front of the House. That was only after they failed to put him in jail prior to the fact. What happens the next day? The January 6th indictment that we're here for today. This is not a coincidence. This is election interference at its finest against the leading candidate right now for president, for either party. President Trump is under siege in a way that we have never seen before. President Trump and his legal team.
All right, I want to hear what Forgiato says. I think Alina Habba does a great job, and that was a particularly good. And I saw you like looking and saying, "Oh my God!"
She's
The
outstanding.
timeline, ladies first, right?
Yeah.
So one day Hunter reveals this, the next day there's a raid. Hunter does this. There's an indictment.
You know what I love about her is she's like Donald Trump. She's such a straight shooter. She just breaks it down and she nails every point.
Your thoughts?
We're still talking about January 6th. I mean, we're really still talking about January 6th. I feel like anytime, like we said, that something happens to Hunter Biden, they come right there and they try to get Trump for something. I think she's doing a great job. And she hit it right on the head when she said the leading president in the polls on both parties. America wants Trump back. We need Trump back to save America.
No doubt about it. And you certainly believe that 2020 was stolen. You've got a brand new song. Set to a familiar tune that people might catch. Sexy and You Know It. This one is Trump Won and You Know It. It's by Forgiato and Phil Nico. Watch.
Trump won and you know it. Trump won and you know it. Forgiato Blow and Phil Nico. Trying to stop the steal. Trump 2024 red pill. We know they stole the E. 81 million votes. Boy, please. Yeah, I blame Dominion. The Democrat Party, yeah, I blame the system. So put them all in prison. American people, we the victims. USA, stand tall, the home of the brave. USA, forever brave. Stuffing that Dropbox. That's Joe Biden. Harvesting ballots. No doubt. Stuffing that Dropbox. That's Joe Biden. Harvesting ballots. No doubt. When I wear my MAGA hat for all to see, people stop and stare. They be looking at me. I got passion for the man, 'cause he Trump won and you know it. Trump won.
There you go. It's a great tune. It's a great video. You can download and stream it right now. Forgiato, what tell us behind the scenes, how you put it together, and what message, most importantly, you're trying to send here?
Well, America knows Trump won the election, right? We all know that. We're fighting for it, and it's just crazy that they keep indicting him. Now his newest indictments are freedom of speech, right? They're going to try to prove that he thought what he was saying was a lie, right? It's just crazy. And, they want him on sedition because they get him on sedition charge, and he can't run.
He can't run.
That's the only thing.
Although they stopped short of that.
They did.
But maybe they're opening the door.
But that's what they're really trying to get. I mean, this whole thing is they just don't want Trump in the White House. We all know if Trump was out here and he just went back to his great life and just went and did his thing, he's a made man, they'd have no issue with Trump. He loves America. He's never going to stop fighting for us, so I'm going to continue to fight for him. So the song's called Trump Won. It's out right now. It's a simple, fun song. It's clean. You can play with your kids and your family. Put it at the flag waves and bring all the patriots outside. Trump needs our support. We cannot stop fighting for Trump. He's fighting for us. So
and you're exercising.
Good, clean, real American music.
Exactly. And you are talking about exercising your First Amendment rights with all of your music. I was struck by the fact we had Dr. Naomi Wolf on yesterday, who always speaks out against the vaccines and other big issues. But, she was somebody who worked for Al Gore in 2000, and she said, as someone who's traditionally been a Democrat, that she understands Trump's pain. Because she said, and Karyn and I were talking about it after the show, that if you had taken some of the things Dr. Wolf said about the 2000 election being stolen from the Democrats, in their eyes, by George W. Bush, she said, I could have been thrown in prison. That if you're going to criminalize the First Amendment, as you just said, Dr. Wolf was honest in saying she and other Democrats would have been in prison.
Hillary Clinton? I mean, that's all you got to say. Hillary Clinton. She said the election was a fraud for the whole
2016.
time. Yeah, 2016 election. And that's just, I think that's just, it's crazy what they're doing to Donald Trump. I mean, they're trying to make him a political prisoner. He might be the next Nelson Mandela. You know what I mean? Trump could win from a jail cell, pardon himself, and go right into the White House.
That is a scenario that people are talking about right now, and that this election may be a referendum on whether Trump's going to pardon or be pardoned.
Capitalism in the chat says this needs to be played at Trump's trial. We all know the election was stolen.
Well, I bet you'll be out the courthouse when that trial starts playing.
I'm trying to do everything I can do for Donald Trump.
All right, there you are.
that.
The Great Forgiato Blow. Trump won. It's out right now. Check him out online. In the meantime, we'll take a quick break. We'll spill some tea with the Great Artillery Tea Company. That's like political gossip. Did you hear Hunter Biden? I know you won't be surprised. Trashed his rental home out in California. Unbelievable what this man does and gets away with. We'll talk about it right after this.
Please. Yeah, I blame Dominion. The Democrat Party, yeah, I blame the system. So put them all in prison. American people, we the victims. USA, stand tall, the home of the brave. USA, forever brave. Trump won, and you know it. Trump won, and you know it.
That's right. Trump won, and you know it. Check it out. Download and stream. The great Forgiato Blow. Nice to see him in person.
And Phil Nico.
And Phil Nico and Hakuna Matata right there. How about that?
so
A worry-free
nice, no
existence.
worries.
I want to briefly mention before we get to the tea. Stacey T is in her live chat on Getter. What a nice thing. She says, I pray at 9 p.m. Eastern every night while the Jan 6 prison choir sings the national anthem, which that's really where it started with President Trump donating his time and efforts, and we thank him for that. And Kash Patel and so many others did great work. And then Trixie in the Mix says, when we're talking about Hillary, Ed gives Hillary butt rash. I mean, I don't think she liked my questions, but I don't know that I would say it was just like that. But it is time to spill some tea. Yeah, this is where we talk about simply the best tea. Artillery tea.
Good.
Right? You like it?
Yes.
Artillery Tea Co. I like the morning mother of all bombs, MOAB. And this black tea actually does smell amazing. You get 2 cups of tea for each tea bag. These are natural tea bags. You don't get the plastic and other, little pieces and stuff that you get in a Lipton tea bag or something you might get at the supermarket. And they give back. Oh, you're going to keep it. All right, I won't take that back. They give back to first responder charities and military charities. This is a patriotic company, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Mike and the whole team at Artillery Tea, we salute them. We hope you'll support this great patriotic company that supports real America's voice, and we appreciate that. In the meantime, when you spill some tea, you give some political gossip. You spill some tea. You get around there and talk. Hunter Biden, it's never ending.
It's never ending.
Look
It's
at
never
this.
ending.
He trashed and damaged a home that he was renting. By the way, how did he get $80,000 a month in rent? That's like, I've never paid anywhere more than like a few $1,000s in rent, and I've lived in expensive cities like New York. $80,000? This guy's selling that many paintings? And it was the home of Sweet Green, which is this great salad company of kind of a foo-foo salad chain, the co-founder's house. I think this was out near Malibu.
$25,000 a month.
Yeah.
$25,000 a month.
Wait, that said 80,000.
Yeah, well, 80,000 because he skipped a couple of months.
Oh, so it added up.
25,000.
25 a month. And completely trashed it, left. The guy's chasing him down like he's, you know what? I was going to say, like he's some degenerate. Maybe he is.
He is a degenerate. Wait, who smokes crack and drives their car at 180 miles an hour?
But isn't he the president's son? Isn't he a person? I heard you last hour say, and you were right, that the president is called Hunter, the smartest man.
That he knows.
Does the smartest man he knows stiff somebody on $80,000 in rent?
Does the smartest man you know burn cocaine into the White House? Not saying it was him.
Did he?
But
did they get to the bottom of it?
We did not get to the bottom of it.
They couldn't get to the bottom of it. I wonder.
So Smarty got away with it.
I also wonder what Mike Pence is thinking. He's now trying, the Babylon Bee says, a bold new strategy, Karen, of alienating the 80 million people who voted for Trump. That's what the man is doing. How do you win a Republican nomination? By saying, I hate Trump.
You don't.
Yeah, you don't. Karen has the last word. Let's bring in our friend Terrance. Sometimes Karen has a way of just 2 words. You don't.
And they're right on. They're right on the money. They're right on target. You don't. Yeah, simple.
Why don't we find a way to get the sunny side up? You know what? I think you're going to love this. After more than 8 years of service, this TSA airport sniffer dog officially retired. So they surprised him at his retirement party.
Aww.
Watch what they did. He's sniffing.